We can start. All right. Hi, this is the Drupal usability meeting for August 27th, 2019. And I believe the only topic so far was the product sign-off on Media Library.
Yeah, attempted product sign-off. Maybe if we can just bamboozle you and Angie enough, you'll agree. So I'm going to share my screen, my whole desktop here. Can we see my Drupal?
Yeesh. Okay,
cool. So yeah, I guess I don't have a plan for this thing. So I guess I'm curious as to what we want to demo. Do you want to take control of my mouse, or do you have a particular thing you want me to show you that you haven't seen a million times before?
Yeah, I feel like I have seen this a million times. Is this a fresh copy of Drupal with nothing turned on to it yet?
This is the tip of 8.8.x, and it has one patch applied, which is the final WYSIWYG patch. It's been Drush SI'd, nothing has been configured. I've just installed Media Library, but that's it.
Okay, groovy. Why don't you take us on a tour? Say, I'm a new user. I want a Media Library. Let's walk through the whole process. So starting with enabling the modules and then...
Yes, the module is already enabled.
See, that's what I asked. Oh, man.
Okay, well, basically, if you were going to do it, you would go to your extend page hi, Christina, as you would. You would go down to where Media Library would be, but currently you go down to Core Experimental, and you turn on Media Library, and it says you have to also enable Media, and then you click Install, and it says up here it's been installed. That's what just happened, and I'm sorry you weren't there to see it. It was super exciting. Nothing that's never been seen before. So now at this point, you have two options. You can either set it up for your text editor or a field, or one after the other. But either way, you would have to set up one of those things. So I suppose if I'm a site builder and I have articles and pages, and I think that articles have an image field already on them. So I guess for the purposes of this tour, I will pretend that I'm a savvy site builder and I want to replace the image field with a media field. So I'll just delete this guy here. And we'll just do that. So I guess when I want to add media, I would say add a new field. What do I want? File, image, media. That's confusing. I'm sure Core is working on it. But yeah, so we'll say I'm going to choose
media. But to be
media.
clear, that's out of scope for the Media Library, right?
That is very out of scope for the Media Library. That is the major obstacle we face to get the media initiative completed, but it has nothing to do with Media Library itself.
Okay, groovy.
So then I'm going to make media shit. Okay, let's go with media shit. Save and continue. I want probably unlimited media items in this field. Oh, that's it. That's annoying.
Uh-oh.
I think we actually have a patch for this, though. That's interesting. Okay, well, I know we have an issue for this and a patch. But anyway, well, that looks scary, so we should probably fix that.
It looks like it's just a notice, though, yeah?
It is a notice. I mean, I know we have an issue for this, so this is definitely something we can fix. I don't know if you guys would consider this a stable blocker, but I know we have an issue in a patch. It does look scary.
Configure the thing without it causing a screen full of red error. Yeah, that's kind of a stable blocker, but
okay.
I don't know that that's caused by, it is caused by Media Library.
There is definitely an issue, and it definitely has something to do with Media Library. I'm just actually going to write it down, the undefined target bundles notice.
I added the link in the chat.
Ooh, thank you.
I was going to say the same thing. I found it.
Perfect. So, okay, we'll call that a stable blocker.
Sorry, this is why I make you do it from the beginning, because we often find fun things like this.
You know what's funny is I actually never have reproduced this until now, so that's just interesting. I think it's because you're on the call, Angie. WebKit testing pages.
I actually had this error in a project today.
Okay, so it is a thing that happens, and we do need to fix it.
Oh, come on, I want credit. Man.
Okay, and it's WebChick test case
I
bleeding to
also
the real
messed up
world.
Sean's. I'm so good at messing things up. I messed up Sean's production environment.
You're so good at it, you don't even need to do it yourself anymore since anybody gets on the call with you. So anyway, so we'll have to fix that.
Shouldn't that be like an issue with all entity reference fields then? Or is it for some just an issue?
It's not. It has to do with how media library specifically works. There is not actually that's not actually a thing. I think I know what's actually causing it.
Sure.
Either way,
it's a preview in the widget. It's
right. Okay, got you.
It is an unambiguous bug though, so we don't have to necessarily land this for. I mean, unless we have to land everything that's a stable blocker before alpha, but it is definitely a bug fix. So there's that. Okay, moving on. Choose the media types I want to use. I'll just say, actually, no, I don't have any audios or videos to upload, so I'll just use these 3. Save the settings.
Media shit.
Media shit.
That's great. I'm glad that this will be archived on YouTube for the rest of all time. That's great.
I know, it's great, right? I mean, whatever. People, by which I mean me, curse in this call all the time. So yeah, there we go. I assume then, I could go and make an article and have a media field. That would be nice. So let's go make an article. Having done that. And yeah, media shit is right there. Great. WebChick test case.
That config for the standard profile.
The real world.
Media shit.
You totally should. Put it in Umami. Out of the box experience.
Exactly.
Ooh, we should test this thing in Umami though. Now that you say that. Let's keep going. Let's keep going.
So we'll add some media to my thing here.
Okay.
And
so right now there's no media at all, and that's fine. So let's handle that
let's put some images. There's going to be probably some pretty goofy images that may have curse words in them.
I like how it knows
PG-13 warning.
How it takes the target bundles and then only displays the right tabs.
Yeah.
And is that something that's just passed to the media library? I'm asking for another issue that I was commenting in the other day.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, the answer to your question is yes. So let's upload some pictures here. All baby sloths.
Baby sloths are the best.
I know, right? Okay, the media items have been created but not yet saved. That's okay, that makes sense. Super duper
Very, very bad alt text, but also very cute alt text.
I'm sorry, I'm not going for realism here.
Andrew McPherson is gonna stab us in our sleep.
Yeah. He's not in the call, right? Okay.
Yeah, he's not.
I'm also from the UK and I have sight loss, so I'm the closest to Andrew that you get right now.
Okay, well,
fair enough.
Please take his weapons away and his passport while I'm at it. So anyway, yeah, there we go. So I guess I have these 2 buttons, and I'll click the primary looking one. Okay, that works out. 3 items selected, 2 items selected. Not that I'm looking over there.
Yep.
What happens if I switch over to table?
Yep.
Yeah, everything I chose is still there.
I was going to say, can you search for something, but they're all called the same. Can you search for yawn?
I could just search for the word cute.
Yeah, cute.
There we go.
Perfect.
I'll get rid of this. Apply them filters again. Everything is still selected. That's awesome.
Yeah. That is nice JavaScript you guys are doing there.
That's great. Yeah. That's
something like that.
That's Sean being awesome. Let's upload another thing just because I can. Yay! Hey, look, it reminds me of what I got selected, and I guess I can change my selection down here, which is interesting.
Did we ever make any progress with improving the button, the checkbox sizes or styling? I remember that was discussed.
There's an issue for that.
Right. Okay, great.
I definitely remember that one. I don't think that was considered a stable blocker, though.
Fair enough.
Okay, I guess I can change my selection, but I'll leave it as is, and I'll go with save and insert. And see
is this an unlimited
this particular one is, yeah.
Got it.
So, okay, everything showed up. That's cool. Let me move let's see if people notice the puppy mixed in with the sloths. It's such an overload, like an overload of cuteness. I really doubt that anybody would know.
Question is, which is cuter?
Cool. Which is cuter?
Yeah.
The dog.
Okay.
I have 2 dogs with me right now as we speak. I'm taking care of my friend's dogs.
I don't
and they're
know,
also
man.
small, cute dogs.
It could go either way. That sloth is in a blanket. Come on now.
I know, right?
Can you do me a favor? Can you upload a different type of media? Because there's something I'd like you to check.
I can, yes.
Like a document, yeah.
A what?
So like, yeah, a document. If you could just upload something as a document.
Do I have any PDFs that aren't like my tax returns? Let's see if I get.
How about that key.sh?
No, forget that shit. It's actually nothing. It's not what you think. It has nothing to do with encryption.
Oh.
I love how disappointed you sound. It's like, oh.
It's like as if I could even get access to your Drupal.test site.
Do I even have like what extensions can I use?
Just use a text editor and create like a simple text file. Just touch something.
That's a faster one.
Okay. This is a talk I'm going to give about media stuff.
Yeah. Otherwise, like maintainers.txt works in it.
Oh yeah. Totally didn't think about that. Where the hell did I save it? Was it my desktop or my downloads or what? There it is. Ugh, and it has no extension. Ugh. Yeah, see, it doesn't like that.
Because it's RTF, you need to... Yeah.
I just need an extension. Yeah. So let's try that again.
But good to know the validation.
It validates, though. That's awesome. I inadvertently tested it. Okay, so there we go. And maybe I just get bored with that. And I'm just like, wait a minute, I want maintainers.txt because it's cooler. There's all these names in it.
Including yours, probably, a couple times.
Yeah, I think I'm in there twice. Okay, maintainers. Yeah, looks okay. So let's save and insert that. Cool. It adds it there. I can reorder this guy.
Look at that.
I don't want to put this last because nobody... Oh, whoa, what the hell was that? That's interesting. It was jumping the hell around. But I think that's a sortable bug. And moving this to the end is kind of weird, but...
Finicky.
Yeah, that's a little finicky.
Yeah, that's not your problem.
Yeah, no, it's
I think it reset the order as well when you added a new thing.
Did it?
Yes, I think so.
Let's try that again. So I'm going to say, so moving that there and then adding a new thing shouldn't reset the order, right? Let's see what happens if I do that. All right.
How about license stuff? Yeah, there you go.
And save and insert with this. You are totally right. It completely reshuffled everything.
Okay. That's worth filing an issue for, but that's not a stable blocker in my mind.
Okay, let me just get to my...
The behavior we have for that is, like when we do a table select, we have a little warning message that says you have unsaved changes to this table sorting. Because that's hard, like you can't really save it unless you did some fancy JavaScript.
Well, the thing about, I don't think that, well, first of all...
Uh-oh. Adam, are you there?
He got knocked off his mic.
It looked like you went through a wind tunnel. And suddenly we couldn't hear you anymore.
This was too much for the mic.
No, he's like,
he's there in the background.
Wait, can you guys not hear me?
Oh, now we hear you, yeah.
What the actual fuck? I really okay, I'm going to go ahead and blame Comcast for that one. Anyway, yeah, so the thing about table drag is that, first of all, we're not using table drag, one. Two is that whenever I see that message about you have unsaved changes, I always assume it's referring to hitting this save button, which I might not be ready to do yet. So to me, I don't think it's a stable blocker, but I do think that's something we need to fix, where it just needs to preserve the weight across JavaScript interactions. Do you guys hear me?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, I was just... Yeah, if you do it in JavaScript, you're totally fine, and I think that that's the ideal scenario. So
it might be an issue in the standard anti-reference fields as well.
Right,
quick,
except
we agree that is not a stable blocker, but it is a bug that should be filed.
Yep.
Right. Okay. Not a stable blocker.
And
not a stable blockers.
Yeah, if you can address it other places, that would be great. I kind of agree. Entity references have the same thing. You sort them, you hit add, you lose the data. You lose the weights.
I don't actually know if that's necessarily true because other entity reference things are using table drag, as normal field items. And we are doing a completely different thing in order to achieve this UI. So I think that might actually be specific to Media Library.
Okay.
Precisely because we're deviating from the stupid table drag stuff. So I think that is definitely a bug that we do need to fix. But I mean, if Angie doesn't think it's a stable blocker and and I'm not hearing Gabor object, so I assume that it is not a stable blocker. So cool.
Could you drag and drop something else? Because I thought I saw some kind of, border. Why is there a white or gray border around stuff?
Because we styled it that way? I guess I don't have a good answer for you.
So seeing that, I would expect that the element is just finishing on the darker gray border.
Mm-hmm.
But it looks like there's a white border around it.
I think that there is. Let me inspect this to just make sure that I'm not wrong about that. Okay, there is definitely padding here. Yeah, so there's a background of white and there's 8 pixels of padding, which is why you're seeing that border.
Can you change the padding to margin just for fun?
Yeah. Okay, so why the hell does that cause an issue?
No. Now drag it with the margin. You won't have the white border. You see, that's what.
Right, but then it also fucks up the other styling, and now things look terrible.
Yeah, but at least we should be able to fix that.
Yeah. Okay, is that a stable blocker according to people?
Maybe the reason that's not a margin is because it possibly is using like the border box setting so that it doesn't overflow the width like what's happening there.
Let's check if it's border box.
I remember when working on this, we wanted to have Flexbox to line everything out nicely, but Flexbox has an issue with having the exact space between items. So this was the way to fix that generically.
So it sounds to me like this is worth opening another issue for, but it doesn't block stable.
I would agree with that. Christina, do you also agree?
Yeah, I agree.
Or is it bad looking enough that we should block it?
I don't think it's a blocker, but I do think it needs to be fixed at some point.
Okay.
Okay, so.
Yeah, can I just weigh in on, like, I don't think any of these things are blockers, but there's a UX thing here. Like, when you drag something, can you drag it?
Sure.
I almost wish there was a focus behavior, like not wish, there should be a focus behavior, like a halo around it so that you can realize that you're seeing something moving on the page. Like a blue, you know how when you focus an element, you're focused on it. You've clicked on it, you've engaged it, it should have some sort of effect to show that engagement. And it also will distinguish when you're moving it over. Right now, the white border is what's kind of distinguishing the draggable item from what's below it.
As opposed to some sort of a box shadow or something.
Or a box shadow. I mean, I think there's all these like little nuanced behaviors we just have to explore. A lot of times when there's drag and drop like this, there's usually like a grabber icon, like, you know, little handlebars to
grab.
Like
the hand, yeah.
Or more than the hand, you're getting the crosshairs to drag it, but sometimes you give people a target so that they know, okay, I've moused over this and now I can drag it and not just rely on the cursor.
Okay.
This is all usability testing. You're going to see if people understand that this is draggable or not draggable, if they get confused. I don't think these are blockers. I think it's just comparing this to my expectations of these behaviors when I look around at other UX user experiences.
Do you like a little sort of almost like when you're dragging in the place that would go would be like a little dotted gray line around where it's going to be dropped?
Around the drop zone.
Yeah, that is also something you see very often.
Yeah, that's certainly something we could look into.
Is this something we should also look at for, say, like Layout Builder or Table Drag or things that also move other areas?
Yeah, Layout Builder does have an affordance for active element as well as drop zone, although it's very buggy. That's something we're actively working on in Contrib, trying to improve right now. So what I prefer to see done with this, I think, is the only exception would be that if this creates an accessibility problem, that the actively selected element is not outlined in some way. But as long as that's not an accessibility problem, I would prefer to see an issue created that's like standardized drag and drop visual patterns or something like that. And then, we do need to apply it to both Media Library and Layout Builder, ideally both. Although it's a little bit funny because Media Library happens in the admin theme and Layout Builder happens in the front end theme, but still I feel like we could do some kind of pattern that spans both. Because otherwise, if we make up our own thing here and Layout Builder makes up its own thing over there, it's going to cause it to look really inconsistent and yucky. But I don't think we can I don't think it's reasonable to hold this initiative up on, we really need to standardize on that pattern throughout all of core.
Okay, so in other words, open an issue that's like established, consistent visual drag and drop patterns for core. That's not a media specific issue.
That would be considering table drag as well, because that's another area you'd want to look at.
Okay.
So,
Claro, but first, Christina, would you agree with that?
So I totally agree on the need for both things to be highlighted somehow, both the element that you're moving and also the area draggable. But also just FUI on Claro, we are going to work on that also. So I don't know how it will affect this.
Okay. I mean, it sounds like mostly we should just open an issue and kind of let it happen on its own.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or Christina, are you suggesting that instead we just sit and wait on this until Claro is done and then have Claro take over the styling?
So ideally, Claro should be stable in, I don't know, half a year or something like that. So yeah, it should ideally be there. And also, my concern is where this code is placed, because we should be able to rewrite somehow for Claro.
Okay.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. So whatever we do, the styling and the JavaScripty bits need to live somewhere neutral so that Layout Builder can use it, Media can use it, and Claro can use it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Okay, cool.
Progress.
But that does speak to the fact that it is a much bigger it's a much bigger issue than media libraries issue. The one thing I am concerned about, though, it'd be good to ping Rain maybe on this, is that right now there's no active selective border when you click and drag anything. Like and that my only question would be like, is that going to pass WCAG, or are we going to have a problem with that?
How would it cost to add this blue shadow that we have somewhere else? Just to the
Layout Builder is the most recent time we've worked on this problem.
Yeah,
so worst case, we could probably take it because it did make stable in last release. So whatever they did there must be good enough.
To be fair, we do have the show media item weights where you can have the.
Yeah, you can already read.
No, I understand that.
Yeah.
I understand
the
that.
default way of doing things, and you could argue that the drag and drop is an enhancement. You
could, yes. So maybe that's fine. But there are people who have low vision but still use a mouse, like me, for example.
And me.
and you, Aaron, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, fair enough. So there is still a way to get there not using the mouse at all, which is good.
Right.
So we're probably fine.
Okay.
But anyway, that would be my suggestion, though, is just ping in there about that.
To confirm that it's not a stable blocking accessibility issue if we don't have If we don't have like a focus style on
I think as long as there's an alternative interface, it wouldn't be stable blocking, but it might be like a major follow-up or something.
Okay. So if we are done tearing this apart.
Well, a little bit. We should review the accessibility a little bit. I'm just curious about keyboard focus and what happened. So the drag and drop doesn't happen when someone gets there. I know we have the show weight, right? So you toggle.
Right. So drag and drop is the thing you only deal with, obviously, with the mouse.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Here, just tab through.
Yeah, can tab through for sure.
Okay, so it's just to close out, and it tells it. Yeah, and we've reviewed that.
To remove any of those.
Oof, that just kills it. It doesn't confirm on it.
It has never confirmed on it because you can always add it again, and in fact, you can always it would just be kind of. I think, yeah, it doesn't destroy it. It's just like. But otherwise, I mean, the media library can be used without the need for.
I think the remove button on all entry reference fields just throw away
the road. It's not
consistent.
Deleting data; it's just removing the reference. Okay, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, you could always. Yeah.
It's impossible to delete a media item from this interface.
Good.
Yeah.
As it should be. Okay.
Correct.
One
Okay.
thing that comes to mind is if you were to save this and you go back in and edit and you add more media, then the bug in which after you add more media, the order then resets. I wonder if that.
Let's see what happens.
Is then a concern.
Okay, I think this was pretty normal.
That seems like that is the order and that it wasn't. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is correct because I re-added this guy.
Yeah, if you
let's remove him. Let's reorder this dude. I think it will happen again. I think this is just whenever it re-renders the media widget, it's going to do that. We'll re-add that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that's affected by
back
edit.
to the way it was.
Yeah, it just plain doesn't preserve the weights. So that is something we need to fix.
So it reverts back to the last saved state, essentially.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. That's less damaging than I thought it could be.
Yeah, that is annoying.
Yeah, because usually you'd be adding things rather than
reordering.
It will go back to where they were alphabetical or whatever the first time, so that's good.
I have a quick question here. Would it be an expected behavior that there would be some button to restore the sort order to what it was when you first opened this? Or are you assuming that people will just know, close, and re-edit? Because there's not a cancel button or anything.
Yeah, I think it'll be too much.
Overkill. It's like trivial to reorder them in the way that you want.
Yeah.
I know we're talking about saving these things, and if we're preserving order as we move through it, I just didn't know if there was a need to be able to restore to where you were.
I think that's a thing that if we wanted it, Contrib could do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like it's pretty much a pattern. Like at any point, if you're like, shit, I fucked up, you just reload the form and it goes back to the way it was, like anywhere in core or elsewhere.
Right, but it's not how a lot of other applications work. In other applications, there's an icon to loop back or whatever. That's
I see the value of what Thomas is saying, where it's like if you reorder a lot of things and you fuck it up, it's like, fuck, I got to go back to the beginning. Then I can see the value in that. I just don't think that that's something we have to address in core.
Yeah, I'm confused about that because like I have never used an application that allowed drag and drop. That was like undo the drag and drop.
Yeah.
Like there's undo in general, but I've never seen like revert to previous sort order ever.
Right.
Usually you just refresh.
Yeah, that's exactly why I think it's Contrib stuff.
Okay.
So I'm going to throw out, and this is not a blocker at all, but Ted Bowman did this awesome work on table drag to make it keyboard accessible.
Yeah.
And that's great accessibility. Like that's like us going to the Uber level. And I think that can help people who are, not visually impaired, but are using a keyboard to navigate. It's just an awesome feature. So just the quick summary of it, it means you can focus on an element. Once it has focus in table drag, you can just use the up and down arrows to move it around.
That's awesome.
Ted did the work. It's great. Like it makes for web form made like huge forms accessible by keyboard.
Yeah.
So it's kind of different. There's the table drag pattern, and then there's keyboard accessibility to the drag and drop pattern, and this is keyboard accessibility to the drag and drop pattern.
Yeah.
It's a nice to have. He did such a great job with that code that he might be able to help out with this and do it.
Potentially,
yeah, we could do that by adding like the arrow, like the up and cross arrows, like as another icon that you can move to, and then if that's selected, you can move it with keyboard like arrows up and down.
Yeah, I feel
is
like
that how it
pattern
does it in table drag.
Yeah, you have the icon, you have the drag handle there in table drag. So
yeah.
I think we should work on the design pattern first, and then see if we can come back to that concept of the keyboard. It's a nice to have. That's it. I'm not adding anything else. I'm sorry that I know every single table drag pattern in core at this point, so I could just list them off.
I have another question.
Oh, go ahead. I was just going to say real quick before we move off that, maybe capture it as, apply table drag accessibility pattern to media library, but it's a normal feature request, not like
a... Okay, I can open an issue for that where, let's see, the new accessible table drag pattern media library widget. Okay.
Keyboard, just write keyboard accessibility, keyboard. Because that's really, and then there's a ticket that just got resolved a few releases ago.
Okay.
Yeah, so what I wanted to ask is, we have to show media item weights where you can change the numbers, but that doesn't actually change the order yet.
Yeah, it doesn't. It sort of requires you to think about.
So if you use the table drag and the weights at the same time, it will probably do weird things. Is that something to worry about?
Well, block UI is the same thing, and it does update the weights. Like as you move the thing around, it will auto populate the weights for you. So like if you expose that field, like and you drag a block all the way up, you'll see it renumber everything else in that table.
Could you do the show media item weights again?
Sure.
And then drag something? Yeah, so
And
now it will renumber everything.
Right, because it actually uses these as the canonical places where it determines the weight.
Yep.
Okay, so whatever
That's what
you
I
did.
would expect.
Okay.
What are you saying though, Sean?
No, I was just thinking that once you start messing with the numbers in the weight fields, should it then update directly or not?
Oh, that would be very fancy. I'm pretty sure block UI doesn't do that either. I think it's like, because I've gone back, I don't think that is a good idea, because sometimes you're like reordering the blocks and you're like, okay, 0, 1, 2, 5, shit, that one, you know, and if they were constantly moving around as you were trying to update the numbers, that would be super annoying.
Yeah, it could be disorienting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So here's like just as you were talking about this, like a meta kind of concern is that, say we do something in like 2 years that's like a huge improvement to like table drag, for example, in terms of like accessibility or usability, but nobody remembers to then like test it or port it to the media library's custom drag and drop thing. Is that a concern, or is there enough like extending, like is it relying on the same underlying JavaScript and sort of things, or is that something we should be worried about?
I mean, it is something we should be worried about, but this interface would look like absolute shit if it were a table drag pattern. So I think it's justified in this, like I think it's on us to be, ideally we could catch something like that with automated testing, although I have no idea how we would do it. But yeah, it is a problem, and you will see certain areas in core that are inconsistent because we've missed things like that. So it's not ideal to have like one-off UIs like this, but the usability of this versus like if this was just like a list of, you know, baby sloth cute.jpg and a table drag thing is just like enormously better. So I think that's why we justify the extra administrative cost for that.
Yeah. Do you think it's worth having like a meta issue just to explore this further, or is it something we just deal with as and when?
Like exploring further,
like it kind of doing like investigating as to like how likely a scenario would be to come up in the future, like what could, you know, where we would need to consider if we make an improvement to table drag, we need to actually port it here, like something to just to investigate that further, or do you think there's not a need to look into this further?
Tell you what, why don't you make the issue? Because I'm still having an issue. I'm having a problem understanding what I would title this issue and what the description would be.
Okay, sure.
But yeah, I'd say go ahead and make an issue for that. It sounds like it's a policy issue on, you know, tracking changes across similar but not identical interactions in core or something like that.
Okay.
Okay, can we test the CK editor integration now?
Yes, we can. So let me save all this. Let me go and configure. I'm going to put my site builder hat back on.
Can we what happened? Hold on. Go back to the page you were literally just on, the web check, please, in the world. Why is everything showing up below the commenting page? Like stuff?
No idea.
That is weird.
I don't think that's a thing that we did. Let me just double check that. It might just be how like maybe standard just like does that out of the box or something for all I know. But let's see what happens.
Yeah, I think your field automatically gets added to the bottom of your fields.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like stupidity.
Okay.
What I'm actually going to do is just hide the comments because I don't care. Peace out. Okay.
Okay.
So
Thanks.
putting
Sorry,
my that's okay. So putting my site builder hat back on here. So configuring WYSIWYG is a little fiddly, I have to admit. This was a lot of compromise and back and forth that happened. But it's easiest to do it with full HTML. But just for fun, let's do basic HTML. Let's see if we can add it. So there's this new button we have here that looks like that.
Look at that sexy.
I know, right?
Great
job. So to deflect the inevitable questions that come up about why does it look this way, I'm going to put it alongside the existing image button just so that we can compare and contrast the two of them. But yeah, the one with the notes is media. So that's pretty cool. And that makes sense.
That's because it's rocking. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, haha, that's funny. So yeah, then I'm looking at my filters and I see this one with a giant wall of text, embed media. So this is one of those cases where if I do the thing where no one ever reads this, it's probably not going to work right off the bat. But we don't know how to get around that except when we do documentation. So we had to put some information here. So embeds items using a custom tag if used in conjunction with the align caption filters, which is a little confusing, but I suppose I would, if I was clued in, I would say align images and caption probably are what that's about.
Yeah, I was able to get there. So that
yeah. Make sure this filter is configured to run after them. And it
is by default. Yeah. That's good.
Yes. If you're using the HTML filter, be sure the data align and or data caption attributes are allowed on the Drupal media tag. And if you'd like users to be able to override the alt text on image media, add the alt attribute to the Drupal media tag as well.
Jesus Christ, so, this is like a novella in a help text. Okay.
I know. It's like this is actually a thing where we had Sean test this and it tripped him up. He didn't know how to configure it because none of it's obvious. So I was like, well, we may as well just stuff the description because I don't know where else we're going to do it.
I followed you up till make it after the align and caption filters, which it is.
Yeah.
What the second sentence, I guess that is, it seems to be saying is that somewhere up above here, there's a place where you can configure the allowed HTML tags. Was that right?
Well, it's technically below it, but yes.
Oh, it's down there. Oh.
Yeah, where the rest of the filter settings are.
Yeah, we need to help people more.
Okay, so here's a thought. If we have settings for the embed media, why don't we have in that vertical tab of embed media some checkboxes of what you are allowed to override? And so I think we now have the align, caption, and alt probably.
Well, that's
and,
what we.
And then when you check it or remove it, then we update the allowed HTML tags accordingly.
I mean, that would be badass if that's possible.
Of course, it's possible.
It is definitely possible. The problem is that it will be hell to get that through the review process. So I strongly recommend we do not make that a stable blocker.
I would agree with that. I think that would be like a major UX follow-up, but we do need to fix this text so that anyone could read it and figure out what they're supposed to do. So, okay. So you've not touched anything other than dragging the media thing in here. Is that right?
That's literally all. I mean, I also turned on this filter.
And you turn on embed. Okay, when you turn on embed media, that must add the filter processing order. Okay, I see.
Yes.
Can we allow overrides by default?
You mean like, well, here's the problem with doing that. I mean, yes, the answer is we could. The problem with that is that we kind of have a bleed through of concerns here where it's like, media wants to be able to support aligning and caption, but if you turn off the align and caption stuff, then things start getting really wonky and weird. And then you start hitting real WTF misconfigurations.
Okay, well, just if you have the data align and data caption attributes in the list of allowed tags, if you just always add it.
That's not a bad idea. That would be
Yeah.
easy for us to do.
So
Because it looks
that's
like
a
image
default.
has those automatically as well, and we want parity with them, and then we could remove that entire second sentence.
Yeah. So and then if people do not want to allow the overrides, they could uncheck the checkboxes at the top, because that would remove the overrides probably, right?
Yes, it will.
And the second option they have is remove those attributes.
Right.
So
So in other words,
yeah.
so if I can jump ahead to what I think you're suggesting is basically have the default values be extremely same and assume that people want to use the align caption and alt, and then let them remove that as needed.
Yes.
Yep.
I am actually really down with that idea, and I think that could actually also be committed.
Yeah, and unfortunately, man, I'm gonna have to call that a stable blocker because I would never have figured that out had you not been walking me through that.
Well, no, and that's totally fine because I think that solution is actually not going to be very controversial.
Yep. Yeah, it's parity with what we do with images, and that's what we want. So I think, yeah, just delete. And then if someone wants to be fancy and disallow those things, they're already in a position where they're mucking with that field anyway.
Yeah.
So I think that sounds good.
I am totally fine with that. So anyway, what we have right now will work. And then we can also just remove this text. So that's cool.
Yeah.
So just to clarify though, if you were to then, if you didn't have the caption and the align and caption filters enabled, are we saying that those tags or those attributes would then not get added to the allowed HTML list?
No, I think that we would add them all the time. It's just that if you have if you have the align and caption filters off, then they don't matter. They become no ops,
Right.
They'll
still render, they'll still be in the raw HTML, but they will do nothing.
Exactly. They'll be there, but they'll be ignored until you re-enable the filters.
Oh, they would I guess they would kind of bleed through in some way, because they would they get filtered out at some point if you didn't have the filter enabled, or would they end up in the actual HTML?
They would get filtered out because when the embed media filter runs, it replaces the Drupal media tag with the rendered media, and it just does that.
Oh yeah,
those would all just be gone.
It's just like anywhere in core. Like this is the list of tags you're allowed. If you throw a H1 in there, it will just get rendered out as a paragraph.
Right.
So it removes anything that's not in this list.
Okay, so there's no risk of invalid HTML creeping through, or or tags that shouldn't be allowed creeping through.
No, because if we allowed the Drupal media tag into rendered HTML, I mean that's not even a tag. It's not a thing.
Yeah.
So
okay.
You have to remove it anyway. So yes, the Drupal media tag is always removed. It's just that the data align and data caption, they'll be in the stored HTML, but they will not be in the rendered HTML, no matter what.
Yep.
The whole Drupal media tag. So I think that would actually be very sane.
And if there was a bug there, that's a bug with the filter system, has nothing to do with this.
With this, yeah. So there you go.
Okay.
And then you could probably move that entire description, because if people start messing with the default values, then they better know what they're doing.
Right.
We would just
remove those sentences.
The statement that it needs to run after alignment and caption, I think, is still useful, because that sounds like that could remove a lot of headaches. But yeah, all of that shit about alt and da-da-da-da, yeah, I would say just let them figure it out.
Yeah, I think that's actually fine. So okay, that's a stable blocker, and that's cool. So let's go back to WebChick test case bleeding through to the real world. And this is using basic HTML, and here is my media button, just as I thought it would be there. So I want to use some zombie Ipsum. If you guys don't know zombie Ipsum, it's pretty fun.
Oh, this is great.
I know the good.
I haven't seen that one before.
A macabre feast of frightful killers. It's great. Okay.
Yeah, Rick Grimes, something or other. For those of us who watched The Walking Dead, which actually is not me. So anyway, there we go. And now I'm going to put some media in there. So you can click the button, and I get the media library. This looks familiar. I have all my media types here.
Yeah, I was going to say, you do have all your media types there versus the field itself. You were able to configure that. Is that...
Yeah, there's a
follow-up for that. That's a thing that actually came up, and it was a thing that caused some contention. So it's like, let's just get the feature done and do a follow-up. So we definitely have an issue open for this.
Okay.
Yeah. That was one of the things I want to get you to check something for me in it once we're done with this. You got it open.
So, yeah, I have my stuff. I guess I'll reuse Sloth because it has a lot to do with zombies. And
it's hiding under the blanket from a zombie.
I know. It's so like a zombie would just disintegrate if it looked at this Sloth. It's too cute.
That's true. It's too cute.
And so yeah, and there is my thing. I have this edit button, and if I click that, I get to override the alt text. It's override, and then
that's fancy.
So this works a lot like image does actually, and I will demonstrate that in a moment. I can change the alignment. I can enable the presence of a caption. And then if I do either of those things, another Sloth, too cute for words. Well, that's actually, okay, so why the hell is left alignment not doing what? Oh, you know what? I think I know why it's doing that.
I think it is doing it. It's
Yeah,
the Windows
I just have to move it. I had to move it to where it was, it was supposed to be. But yeah, that's otherwise going to where I would expect it to go. So let me change the caption or change the alignment to center. And center makes it still lefty.
I guess because it's using an auto margin, so it's gonna.
I think it might also be because it's because it's also inline block is the thing. I think that's the problem there. But anyway, there you go. And then if I want to turn the caption off, I could do that. I have this guy. And then let's save this and see how it looks when I render it out. My God, my Sloth is there.
So cute.
Let's see what the alt text is, just because I specifically changed that. It should say overridden awe. And it so has that overridden alt text.
It so does. Look at that.
I know, it's great, right?
Very
and so
cool.
Basically that's that.
One thing I noticed while you were doing this is you could have a situation where you would want the image to align left of the text and one bigger image to align in the middle. So having an option to choose different image sizes does seem like something we should support. I'm not saying it's a stable blocker, but I do think
we do need that capability, yeah, but not as a stable blocker. But yeah, we don't have that.
So
either.
I have opinions on this. Basically, we do actually have an issue open to add support for choosing the view mode to use to display this thing. That is a follow-up. It is, and that's how you would have to do it, because for images, you could use maybe an image style, but for any other kind of media, image styles don't necessarily apply. So that is actually being worked on. But just so you know, we have an issue for that.
Cool.
I'm not concerned about it for a stable blocker, only because images don't let you choose image styles either. If they did, then yeah, we would have to block this on that. But as far as I know, you only have these options in a.
Can you resize images, by the way?
Not in CK Editor. Let's demo. Just so I can prove that I'm not full of complete shit right now. What am I doing? Yes.
Oh, puppy.
Okay, let's go to right alignment. Yeah, that's cool. But yeah, no image styles. This is not a thing.
Oh, but you can drag and drop the corners.
That's true. That doesn't apply for media. Yeah, that unfortunately is never going to be a thing you can do for media, because a media is rendered just like an article, and that doesn't take a width and height. So that's one of those things that works for a direct image, but it will never work for a media. I mean, and if we want to make it work for media, I really would delegate that to Contrib.
We could support a width and height attribute, maybe.
I mean, we could support like a width and height, with inline CSS or something like that, but I just shudder to think of what a nightmare that would be to get committed and get past reviews. So that would be a thing that I would.
Yeah, I don't think
that's another one that.
Blocker, yeah. But it was the first thing I very wanted to do as soon as you put that Sloth image in there and you had a left line, and I'm like, I just want to make that smaller, and I can't because.
So one possible idea that we could do, because I know that there's an issue to look at how links are handled if you try and wrap a link in an an embed or wrap an embedded media in a link, it does some weird stuff with the article and the A tags conflict. So I think it was myself or someone else had an idea to like have this have the link, like the href and the alt and stuff passed as data attributes to the embed, and then have it handled in the template or something like that, have it handled in the actual embedded entity somewhere in the process of that being rendered. So we could do something like that where if the say for like images, they can be configured to support like draggable widths and heights, and then you just pass it through as a data parameter to the embedded image.
We could do something like that. I think that, I do recall seeing that issue, Aaron. I think the way that it was done right now in core is mostly just to have parity with images and so that it is linkable at all. But you're right that it doesn't, for some media, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And the A does wrap the article, which is like, I don't know. Yeah. So TLDR, I agree with you, but there is an issue for that already, I think.
Yes.
What happens when you link an image with a caption?
Link a captioned image?
Yeah.
Did I use a... So the real question is, what happened to my edit button? Shouldn't I have one?
This was a regular image, I think.
Oh, maybe it was. Yeah, okay. So yeah, let's link that.
No, this is linking media. I mean linking
with a regular image.
Like a regular image with a caption. Because if you put HTML or a link inside the caption and then link the entire thing, you kind of have the same situation.
Sloth +1, human -1. Okay, so let's link that to Drupal.org. And that is an image, so...
And if you put a link inside the caption now as well.
Oh, I think that actually works.
Yeah, but I think that would lead to a link inside a link. And that's exactly what you run into when you start
this is
linking.
What we're,
start
this is
linking
what
media.
We're doing with, I think you're right about that. This is with image though, so let's just see how it renders out on the front end, just so that we know. That goes to Google, which I think was that correct?
Yeah, that's right. And then the image itself, does it go to Drupal.org?
Yeah, so you have a link inside.
Yeah, it totally does.
Oh, wow.
Actually, no, that's not correct. We have the link, the image links over, and then the fig caption is a different thing.
Wow.
So let's see what happens if we do this with a media, because that's a really good find. Okay, so we'll get rid of that. And we'll put another media here. And we'll link this dude with a caption. And let's link to Drupal.org. And then we'll take the whole thing and link it to like Yahoo. Because nobody gives a shit about Yahoo anymore. And we'll save it. So Drupal does go to D.O. And this, interestingly, wow, it's an empty link. That is unexpected.
Oh.
I think I've seen that happen before. I think it's the way the browser tries to render it when there's unexpected HTML. So if you actually view the raw source, you might see something different.
Is it field item?
Yahoo.
Search for Yahoo, yeah.
Let's see what happens here. So yeah, you have yahoo.com plus the article.
Yeah.
And then you have the A tag around. So the image is already linked apparently by default in the normal view mode for this. So it's linking to that, and then and then you have an A around the article, and then okay, the Drupal link is actually sitting apart from the linked A, but the problem is that inside this, inside this media thing, you have a linked image, which kind of sucks. That's one of the issues here.
Yeah, so you can configure your view mode to have links in it, multiple ones actually.
Right.
And then if you put a link around the whole thing, I'm not really sure.
This gets weird. So the real question is, so one thing that may be worth mentioning here is that we have an issue open to add a new view mode for embedded media specifically, so that you could kind of turn off the linking of.
Adam, you got quiet again. Can you make yourself louder?
Sorry, is this better?
Yep.
Okay, sorry, I'm like holding the computer like up to my face. I think one mitigating factor here is we have an image we have an issue, not an image, that's already open to add a new view mode that's specifically used for embedded media. And that would be a place where if you had a situation like this where you have a link around an article that has a link to the image itself, you could remove the link from the image in that view mode. So that would probably improve things a little bit, but I don't know if it would outright fix them for all things.
And how come the image in your media is a link? Is that a default thing?
Yeah, that I think is the view mode by itself, or that's the normal view display. So let's just confirm that really quick.
Yeah, I think that's a view mode.
Yeah, I'm like 99% sure that's a view mode, but I could also be completely, link to file. There you go.
Oh.
So basically, when we land that other issue of having a view mode specifically for embedded media, that would obviously not be linked by default. So that will probably improve in the short term.
Can you try just making this not link and see if it fixes the problem that you had?
Yes.
Yeah, that was also my first thought, is that why does this have a link by default?
Right, it's because
especially linking
full content does normally.
Wait, is that a separate issue to the view mode issue then?
Okay, now it does link to Yahoo? Oh no, this was the original image.
Yeah, it does.
Is that the image or is that the media? That is media.
No, that's media.
This is a media.
That's the article.
Can we change that then so that media defaults? Well, shit. Okay, we do need the embedded media thing. Okay.
We need the new view mode, but that's already something that's being worked on.
Right.
So I don't think it's considered a stable blocker right now, but we could escalate that.
Yeah, and we could also remove the link to original image from the default view mode, I think.
Right, and then in all honesty, like the fact now that media doesn't provide the canonical route now by default. So having the image linked over to, the image normally links to the file, not to the content. So it actually does make sense. But I think the embedded view mode that for images is not linked.
It should not be linked to anything. Yeah.
Do we agree that's a stable blocker?
I don't know.
Having the media library view mode is probably also a way to fix this, and probably a better way.
The embedded view mode.
Yeah. So an embedded view mode that we use by default.
I'm in favor of that, and we've already got it working. I'm calling it.
Okay, thanks. Because I'm very on the fence about it. But that clearly shows it's something that used to work and doesn't anymore. So it's definitely kind of more on this side. So as long as you're not worried about finishing that up, I think that's a good call.
I think we can call that a stable blocker and accelerate it.
Okay.
So no concern about that. But yeah,
honestly, this is a really short list though. You guys have done amazing fucking work here. It's like we're really getting into like if you do this and then you click that and you do. Like,
in other words, we're having an Angie test time.
Angie fun test time. Yeah.
Somebody get some balloons and things. So I think that's really honestly about it. This is the functionality we would get if we had media library be stable. So if that's what we found, then I can file the rest of those issues. I can escalate the other 3 to stable blockers, and then we can just accelerate these and get it done.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. Anyone else have other things? We are at time, but
there was one quick thing I was going to ask you to try, which is can you go into the field settings for the actual media library field you added, and then
I can.
So
the field settings here.
Yeah, and then under the reference types, if you remove document or something, I just want to see what the behavior is now, if it actually doesn't then render out those documents that we had.
It'll still render them out because they're linked over. It's just that if you try to select new ones, you won't be able to choose documents, and I will demonstrate this to you. So yeah, no documents, and you can still see that they're linked. But now if I go edit, and I want to, and again, like they're still linked, add new media, there's no more ability to choose or add comments. That's consistent with how entity reference works normally, so there's no real change there.
Yeah, I think deleting the content would probably be worse.
That would piss everybody off.
So this is in reference to how like there's an issue open for, which I think we touched on earlier about with the media library plugin for CK Editor, making the types configurable and how it should behave when you like where that configuration should be and how that should behave. So that,
right?
Yeah.
So the CK Editor version will work the same way, where anything you've already inserted into your content is going to stay there. But then when you open the media library to add something anew, there would be no document here, or whichever types you've disabled. So it has nothing. It will not change anything you've already done.
To me, that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, I'm very against data loss, and so are the release managers and the committers, and basically everybody.
Because there was an open issue to discuss it further, and there's yeah. If you haven't seen, because I commented in it recently, just discussing some different kind of thoughts on it. So, but I think I might be leaning now more towards what you're saying there as well.
Okay.
Because if it should be completely consistent with the behavior of entity and reference.
And it is.
Okay, so this does lead me to a new thought. In your filter, you configure the allowed HTML tags, right? So
yes.
We also have this complete Drupal media tag. What if you specifically don't want H1 tags in your WYSIWYG fields, but your view mode renders an H1 tag for your media?
That's not. It'll still render the H1, I think.
Yeah.
Because it's going to strip out like H1 before it hits Drupal media, and then the Drupal media tag is going to be wholesale replaced with the rendered media thing. So if the rendered media thing happens to contain an H1, that's just how it's going to be.
That's what I thought, and I'm just wondering, is that weird? Is that a problem?
I do not think that's weird.
Hypothetically, if you moved the limit allowed HTML tags further down, then it probably would strip out the H1 if it exists.
It will actually not let you do that. So let's watch what happens if we actually try that. There's validation to prevent you from fucking. Okay, what the fuck? I thought there was validation to prevent you from fucking that up, but apparently there's not. No,
is that a problem though? I think there's validation to prevent you from the align images being below the embed
maybe
media.
That's the one. Oh yeah, there you go. Okay, I'm sorry. I had the right idea, but the wrong filters.
Yeah, but the limit allowed HTML.
Yeah, that can go anywhere. So I guess that you're right, Sean. It may actually strip it out.
Okay,
now the question then is, do we want to make it impossible to do that?
Yeah, this is I don't have a strong preference on this.
I honestly am not too concerned about it. It sounds kind of edge casey to me.
Well, in the case of iframes, for example, you could be strongly against having iframes in your WYSIWYG editor.
Yeah, enjoy having no.
And then embedding YouTube videos could be a bit weird, but
yeah,
I'm not really sure.
Do we want to open an issue to talk more about this?
Does it matter? Like, is it fundamentally breaking something if you allow them?
I mean, I consider that to be a misconfiguration on the part of the site builder. Like, if they've done a thing where like they've moved the allowed HTML after embed media, and then it starts fucking around with the HTML that the media has put out, like,
yeah,
I personally would just. I mean, one, I think that sounds like an edge case, and two, like, it sounds like a misconfiguration. It's just like, well, oops.
Maybe we should at least open an issue to discuss it.
Okay. Should we prevent the HTML filter?
Even if we agree that it is an issue, like then we'd have to decide how we handle that. Like, do we just outright prevent it, or do we just display a warning, or
right?
Because theoretically, like, you could think of a scenario where someone might want to strip certain tags from embedded media. Like,
yeah, it's one of. I mean, yeah, I think an issue is it's definitely not a stable blocker. I would think, and then it sounds like it's just let's just open an issue for that.
But if I remember correctly, I think you can never allow iframes.
Indicator, that is not correct because you can embed videos.
Okay, I thought there used to be at least a problem that you could not allow the iframe tag in your WYSIWYG editor.
Somebody want to send me the URL for Baby Shark?
Oh, let's not do that.
Evil laugh from Sean. No. Inspiration. Let's find some inspiration. Thomas somebody or other, trash artist. Sounds great. Sounds entertaining and fun. All right, so let's see what happens with no, I'm sorry, we don't have a thumbnail. Oh, privacy badger. Yeah, that's an iframe. So it does show up.
Yes, but not in the front end, probably.
I think it will. It better.
Do you have the limit allowed HTML at the bottom?
No, so the embed one wasn't at the bottom, right?
Yeah.
That's why.
Right. No, I mean, I think that it would, if I put the the HTML filter afterwards, it will probably just break. They'll probably break, but let's see what happens. Actually,
yeah, see what happens.
Let's just break it. This ought to be fun.
So there goes your video, and that will. Yeah. And if you edit it now,
edit it.
Does it get stripped there as well?
Apparently.
Oh shit! So.
No, it's still there. It's just not rendering it out, I think, because doesn't this show the process text?
This will confuse the shit out of somebody.
Well, we gotta open it.
I think is there still something there? Like there's still something there when you're hovering over it, because it's still showing the tag. It's just not showing the.
It might be showing. You know what? It's probably showing the widget and stripping out the iframe. Is my guess. Yeah, let's see if we're right about that. Let's take a look. So data, okay, well we have the media thing, and it's upcasted, but there's nothing in there, probably because it's an iframe, I would imagine.
Yeah, but can you try to add the iframe to the allowed list of tags?
Yeah. And in other news, kids, you should never ever do this at home. Let's see if that works.
Okay, well, it allows you to do that. So
let's see what happens. Does it work? Does it break?
So it kind of looks like.
Do I have to do a thing? Wait a minute. Don't I have to do a thing where like I allow any attribute on the iframe?
Oh yeah, you probably have to allow the source at least.
Oh, it's like maybe like that, or iframe src. Let's see if that works. I still think this is an edge case.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that's annoying. There's nothing there. Widget wrapper. Yeah, there's just nothing. Well, I don't know. I think we should open an issue and like not even think about this right now.
Yeah, especially for existing sites. There, for existing site, this would be a problem. No, because if you enable the embed, it would probably add itself to the bottom, right? So just disable it and enable it again.
I imagine it's actually gonna remember where it was.
If you save it in between.
Let's see. Dead. Oh, I see. It actually is doing some validation here. So yeah, you have to have that. This seems to have some guardrails on it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're over time, so
Okay. No.
I'm pretty much done with this one.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there was a question of Umami, but Umami doesn't have media yet, right? So they would need to have a media patch first too.
I think that I don't foresee problems in Umami, but who knows?
Yeah, it was more to check how the styling looks with it, make sure that doesn't like.
Well, Umami's not the admin theme, right?
No. Oh yeah, that's true. It's gonna look the same in Umami.
Yeah. Like it's I think media library has definitely been styled with 7 in mind. I don't even know if I've tested it in Bardic.
I've tested it in Adminimal and it looks pretty good.
Okay, good.
Cool. So yeah, so after the stable blockers are dealt with, do we have product manager sign off?
I mean, yeah, I think so. Like, and the things, I'm hoping all of those stable blockers are pretty quick to resolve. Like,
the first one, like, I can tell you this.
Out of the ground and start over, like nothing.
The first 2 are definitely easy to resolve. The third one is in progress and also relatively easy. Okay. So I'm not overly concerned about that.
A measurable difference on the usability, though. So I'm happy to hear.
Yeah.
The not being able to resize images one is borderline because you can resize images currently and can't in this scenario. But
I think that one would be quite hard to do.
Like a major feature follow-up unless Christina or Gabor feel very strongly elsewise.
Would it be an acceptable workaround to have multiple view modes enabled for your media?
Yeah, maybe. Like Squarespace and those kinds of things basically have some preset values that a media can be. And their interface is drag and drop panels, and then it just snaps to one of those things. But I think like ours would be a clunkier version of that, where I understand it would be like a drop down in that image caption dialogue where you choose a view mode. It's not optimal because it's not visual that way, right? You have to choose.
You have to understand what you're looking at.
You know, so. Like the best way to do it is to make it on the front end, you know, that's because it's as people are looking at it, that's how they want it. So
I think having that
would be the optimal way, but I don't feel comfortable get drag and drop panels that auto snap to responsive grid points or whatever. I don't feel comfortable throwing that in as a stable blocker.
Well, if you do that, you basically just put a dragon in our way.
You said what?
If you do that, you basically just put a dragon. Okay. It means you put a dragon in our way if you do that. So feel free,
exactly. But I don't want to throw dragons at anybody. But that is the only one that's borderline for me still, is just that inability to resize. And to answer your question, if a selection of viewpoints that makes a difference, not really, because it's a much worse UX than the current UX.
Actually, can I just say one thing?
It's not a stable blocker because there are workarounds. Like you can configure the embedded media I don't know, because that's even still going to be for every single media. It's going to look exactly the same. It's not per content thing. I guess I would love some second opinions because I don't.
You could show it. Oh, sorry.
I was just going to weigh in. Like, I think in Contrib, like a really nice feature and it shouldn't be in core, but someone could add custom attributes to the container, the media container, like where you can add style tags, custom attributes, even custom classes, because that's so much nicer than view modes. If you can just put a modifier on an embedded media, something that's going to happen in Contrib. I mean, my only question is the way the current APIs are set up, is that possible? For someone to kind of alter how that's going to be rendered. So in the dialog, when someone's embedding media, if you want to go to the CK editor and hit embed, and pick a media, in this dialog, if someone can add custom attributes very easily, where they could add a class attribute and a style attribute, that makes a very flexible user experience. That's like a site builder rich user experience.
That is a thing we could work on as a feature follow-up.
But even in Contrib, if the code was out there in Contrib to give people the understanding on how to do it, I think it solves a huge amount of problems. Because then they could go in and say, okay, I'll put a drop down in here and I'll set the widths to, 100, 200, 400, 800. And
Maybe.
that,
Here's a question as like a low-hanging fruit thing that possibly we can do. Can we add text fields here for width and height? Because if we do that, that's a very low, like it gets the job done. It makes it so someone can throw in 200 and then make it.
I think that's a thing that seems easy, but then the implications are going to turn into a dragon.
Okay.
Yes,
Like the problem is like it's hard to control. Sorry, go ahead.
Imagine that just someone picture that is square, they just made that, I don't know, vertical or something like that. So we have a problem here because they won't know what's the, I don't know how to say that in English, proportions. Like they can't completely change the image.
Yeah, I think that's what would happen, and it's kind of a hacky thing where it's like it's hard to control these styling things from the back end. So, I mean, if you want my personal suggestion as far as a favored way to do this would be view modes and then like a cool drag handle that can snap to particular view modes. But I think that would have to happen in contrib because it would take a very long time to get into core.
So here's something that, as you guys are talking, that popped into my head. And certainly at the university, we do this. And I think for a lot of publishing sites, you would find this more useful where when we, with our Drupal 7 sites, I can't remember exactly what we use, but when we embed media, they, like images, for example, they will size based on the breakpoints that are defined. So I think there's something worth exploring around breakpoints, because I think that would be more useful if images could snap to breakpoints depending on the viewport of the user than custom sizes.
You can do that in the view mode, though.
So you would do that.
Responsive images?
Yeah, you can configure responsive images for your view mode.
Okay, is there some? Is that something that should be explored in this specific issue then, or is that something that's already being looked at?
That already works.
Yeah, I just mean in terms of like making that like kind of on automatically, or making that I try because I've never specifically configured that myself. So should that be something that's auto on, or?
I don't think we have responsive images by default anywhere.
Disabled by default in Drupal on every installation. You have to enable it.
Okay. All right.
That is correct. Is it okay if I stop screen sharing, by the way?
Yeah, I think we covered everything, did we?
I mean, I'm hearing mostly. I mean, except for the dragging stuff, but that's like even talking about it now, we're finding out it's dragon-like. So I'm like, I understand it's a borderline thing. I just think it would delay us until the 9.1 release if we stable blockered it, in my opinion. However, I will say this. Angie should adopt the title of Chief Dragon Thrower, because how fucking cool does that sound?
I'd second that. From what I remember reading in the issues, there has been I can't think of the right word. There's been a desire to basically just replicate what the image plugin does for media. So I guess, and I think we've used this logic before in previous calls where we've said like, well, if the image plugin doesn't provide this now, then we don't need to think about it too much as a stable blocker, because I'm pretty sure we've taken that line of thinking before.
The only problem with, I mean, and I agree with that to the greatest extent possible, but the problem with media is because media can be, like with an image, it makes sense, like on the technical level, like it has, an image tag has width and height attributes, and they always have. Media is so much more open-ended as a thing that the problem is like media breaks several assumptions that are possible to make with images. And so I don't think that there was ever going to be complete perfect one-to-one parity with the image plugin. no matter what we do. But this comes close.
It's about defining the minimum viable product. Like what you're trying to deliver initially is what matches the viability of the existing feature. So that's where you're looking for one-to-one, and areas where it moves beyond that, you're going to go for the best approximation thereof.
Right. So yeah, I would personally, I totally get what you're saying. And I do think that, like, having draggable sizing handles would be cool. It's just, I just don't think that I don't think we should block on it personally. But I mean, it's also almost 5, so if y'all want to call it a day, and we can ponder this later, but
yeah, I think we should.
Cool. Well, thank you everybody for your time.
Yeah, great stuff.
Great stuff.
Thanks, everyone.
Work.
Wow.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.